I know. Oh my gracious. Okay. Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone, from Jeremy Medeiros and JP Ruja out on Nonsuch Island, Bermuda, on, I believe it's the 8th or 9th of June. It's even hard to tell. I think it's the 9th, actually, of June 2022. And we have Totoro here from the Cahal 2 nest. As you can see, it's changed appearance quite dramatically. And I think right now it's at what we call the flight capable stage, where it's fully capable of flight. Seems to have lost all its down except for a tiny little mohawk crest on top of its head and its belly a bit. And they're fully capable of flying and fledging out to sea at this level of development. In fact, Button, one of the other Cahal chicks, fledged to sea with much more down than this. Successfully flying quite vigorously. I'm just trying to get some down out of its beak. Okay, so I'm going to get right into it. I'd be very interested to see what weight it is and what its wing chord length is now. I believe the wing chord was at 267 or 268 millimeters about 2 or 3 days ago, and the weight was just under 300 grams, about 297 grams, and they can fledge anywhere successfully between about 250, 260 grams up to about 290 grams. 300, I've seen some chicks fledge, but that's a bit heavy for them. But it does give them the advantage of a couple of extra days of fat reserves that they can use to learn how to find and catch food, such as squid and small oily fish and crustaceans. Now this bird, Totoro, this is, I think last night was about the fifth night that it's been exercising, and it had been just outside for very brief periods, and last night its behavior changed and it came out 4 times in the course of the night, twice for long periods, and it really explored widely, whereas before it had been staying very close to its nest. So this change in behavior indicates this bird is essentially ready to go. But yeah, I'll be able to tell, I think tonight, as you can see behind us, the winds have turned southeast and they're blowing onshore now. They're quite strong, 12 to 18, gusting up on 27 knots at times. And I suspect with this strong onshore wind, like an aircraft, they like to take off into the wind, and it's very, very likely this bird may depart out to sea and fledge tonight. And like I said, the only thing that could stop that is perhaps an adult feeding visit. Now, yeah, looks like the weight is pretty, let's see, 294, so that's 274 grams. So that's just about perfect, 274. That's right in the mid-range of where they like to depart. All right, so 274 grams, and now wing chord, and I wouldn't be surprised if the wing chord is over 270 millimeters, which is about as long as any of the chicks have been, and it's just, let's see, 269 millimeters. So yeah, so it's there. This bird is fully capable of flight. 269, fully capable of flight, so there's really nothing to prevent it from flying out to sea tonight. So we'll have to really be manning those cameras tonight and try and follow it around as best we can. Now you can see, I mean, the plumage assessment is quite easy because it's only got a little bit of down remaining on its head, a tiny bit on the neck and its belly. Otherwise it's down free now, and you can see it's just a lovely little bird. We're pretty sure it's a female bird. It certainly looks like it with the bill. Males tend to be a little bit, larger and sort of stockier, and their bills are a little bit more massive. Otherwise, it can be very hard to tell them apart. And the biggest thing, the biggest tell for me is that the crossed wingtips are now longer than the tip of the tail. Once that happens, generally those birds are capable of flight. If they're still shorter than the end of the tail, then that bird is probably not ready to fly yet. But you can see it's already about 15 millimeters or more being longer than it. So yeah, so I think this bird is just about there. It's got its identification band E0843, and of course it's got its GLS tag on the other leg, which it's been wandering around at night, and it's been, you know, there's all the chicks we've seen that have tags attached, it doesn't seem to hinder them in any way, and they're climbing through thick vegetation and such. It doesn't seem to have any real issues. So yeah, I think Totoro is ready to go ta-ta, more or less, and say goodbye to Bermuda for the next 3 to 5 years, and hopefully we'll see it back somewhere between 2025 and 2027 when it matures and it returns to find a mate and find a burrow, hopefully on Nonsuch, but being a female, it's quite possible they could settle on one of the smaller islands. Although I can't for the life of me think of why a Cahal would choose a bleak little windswept and wave-swept rock like, say, Green Island, for example, in the background, compared to lush, protected, and much higher Nonsuch Island. It definitely is a huge advantage for the birds that nest here, because even the tropical storm we had earlier this week on Monday, with like 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts and such, the waves are breaking right over the nest colony on Green Island. Here, of course, it's nothing, just a bit of spray. We're up about 45 feet above sea level here, so even the largest hurricane waves won't reach this area. So yeah, so I think this is going to be our last real look at Totoro in the hand, up close and personal. It's been a great journey for it. It was one of the last chicks to hatch in the A colony. The fact that this year's cohort of chicks are departing with the GLS tags for the first time is really going to be interesting, because the birds that return will be able to tell us where these birds go in the ocean. Do they go to different places than the adults? We know pretty well where the adults go, because with the help of our research partners, Leticia Campioni in particular, and Monica Silva from University of Lisbon, and some very unpronounceable organizations whose acronyms are quite complex, but they've been absolutely essential they've been taking not only blood samples and feather samples for analysis, looking for contaminants such as persistent organic pesticides, POPs, such as DDT, DDE, hexachlorobenzene, dioxins, all sorts of things like that. And what we've been finding is that many of those are still present in these birds, and it's because they're a top predator in the ocean. They're a long-lived species. They can live 40 to 50 years, and so they tend to eat trace amounts in the food that they're eating, the fish and squid and such, and that bioaccumulates in their tissues over a long lifespan, to the point where perhaps it's affecting breeding success rates. That seems to be perhaps what is happening a little bit with the Cahal, as one of the longest lived seabirds in the North Atlantic Ocean. Be very interesting to see what comes of that, and of course the GLS tags will be invaluable in telling us, do the chicks go the same place as the adults, or do they wander more widely and build up a map in their heads, in their brain, of where to go for the rest of their life, where to go to find food at different times of the year. We know that they can identify where they are in the ocean, not from sight, not from the stars, but from the smell, because every current, every part of the ocean has a different smell, because there are gases that are given off by the plankton living in the top part of the water, as well as the prey items. And these gases have particular smells. So like the Gulf Stream would be very different from the cold Labrador current, or from the on the east side of the Atlantic, the Canary Island Current and the North Equatorial Drift. So they can tell where they are from this amazing sense of smell, which is on a par with a bloodhound. It's thousands of times more sensitive than the human sense of smell. So yeah, it's very interesting that we're finding out more things every year now, in no small part due to our interactions with our international research collaborators and such. It's all very interesting, and it will bear very great importance in coming years for the recovery and protection, not only of the cahao, but for many species in the ocean. These guys are barometers. They're canaries in the coal mine. They can tell us what problems are developing in the ocean, such as plastics. We know plastics is an accumulating problem. It's more happening every year. Work to limit the use of single-use plastics needs to have been done yesterday, because these plastics, as they break down, release a lot of very toxic compounds into the environment, some of which are synthetic and they just can't be broken down by microorganisms in the environment, like oil can. Oil can be broken down. Many of these chemicals being released or used in agriculture cannot, because they're synthetic compounds. So yeah, these guys will help to take care of us by providing insights into the health of the ocean that we get so much of our food and such and resources from. So yeah, I think this bird has been a very, very fun one to follow. I love the bird, has a wonderful personality, and we'll be seeing Totoro hopefully in several years, and we'll just be following its story and hopefully bringing it to you, and just hopefully on the surface cam tonight we'll be able to follow it to where it flies out to sea. If not tonight, well then probably tomorrow night, but it's ready to go. It's capable of flight. Okay, so I'm going to put it in the burrow, and for all of us here at Nonsuch Expeditions and the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, we'd like to thank you for being with us through this long nesting season, and hope that you'll join us next season. Hope that you join us later for the tropic bird camera. Tropic bird chicks are everywhere now, so we'll continue to bring you these fascinating life stories of some of the amazing species that we share Nonsuch Island with. One last thing I would want to add before I put Totoro back in its nest burrow is that it's very fitting that it's going to be fledging on World Ocean Week this week, which really highlights the importance of the oceans and the need to really address issues with pollution and such, and with protecting the biodiversity of the oceans, to which we all depend on for our survival. Life could not exist on Earth without our oceans. So yeah, from all of us, from Totoro, JP, and myself, everybody have a great World Oceans Week, and we'll see you again soon. All the best. Okay.